Hello, everyone. Welcome to another webinar here at Roots Tech. Thank you for joining us. This class is Preservation Generation. If not you, then who? 10 Simple Ways to Preserve Your Heritage by Jana Rasmussen and Amanda Terry. Amanda Terry works as a family search change experience manager, helping to prepare operational teams worldwide for upcoming changes, new products, and releases. And Jana is also a project manager at Family Search. And a few words from her. See, she said, preparing to go to college, I knew I would attend BYU and felt drawn to major in family history and genealogy with a minor in family sciences. I loved my I loved my coursework focusing on British
Hello,
genealogy.
everyone. Welcome to another
So
without here at Roots Tech. Thank you for joining
I will
us.
give the time
This
over
class is
to
Preservation Generation.
Jana.
If not you, then who? 10
Okay,
Simple Ways to
thank
Preserve
you.
Your Heritage
Hang on one
Jana
second. I've got
Rasmussen
one little
and
audio issue that I need
Amanda
to
Terry
fix.
works as a family search
Hmm.
change experience manager,
Okay, there we go.
to prepare operational teams
Sorry about that,
worldwide for
everybody.
upcoming
Got a couple of
changes,
windows up
new
that are just going.
products, releases.
Okay,
Jana
no,
is
I haven't gotten them all yet. Sorry.
search
How about I just close that? Okay, but there we go.
from her. See, she said, preparing to go
All
to
right.
college.
Hey, can everybody hear me and see the screen? I'm still hearing an echo.
And genealogy.
Anyone else? Amanda, are you hearing an echo?
I am.
Okay.
My coursework
I'm
focusing
so
on.
sorry, guys.
Hello,
Let me
everyone.
just double check here. What is going on?
Okay. How's that?
Sorry. Okay, I think that's it. I think we've got it now. All right. Everybody, technology, it's the funnest thing in the world. All right. Well, welcome. We are so glad to have you with us. If you will just drop in the chat where you are joining us from, we would love to hear where you are from and also why you want to become a member of the Preservation Generation. And then, why are we talking about this? So I just want to remind you that, if you have ever written a journal entry or maybe made a photo album or a collage that you've shared with others, or if you've even written down like a funny or a dramatic or even a spiritual story to share with your family members, you should give yourself a pat on the back. You are on your way to preserving your heritage. And we want to break down the stereotype that doing family history is hard. I know it can be overwhelming at times, and hopefully some of the ideas that we share here will give you some ways that you can preserve your history in a fun, unique, and hopefully simple way. And just a reminder that we are recording this, and all of our resources are available in our syllabus, which is linked at the bottom of the page. And then we do ask that you silence all of your electronic devices and that there is no audio or video recording and no photos of our slides. Okay, well, let's get started then. So as we begin here, I just want to share with you a short story about my great-grandfather. His name was Lorenzo Durfee. And this story was often told at family reunions, verbally by my grandfather, and he was my great-grandpa's eldest son. So Grandpa Lorenzo was a man who was very short in stature, but he was very well known in the community. And on Halloween, when kids come around and they knock on your door and they say, trick or treat. Well, back in that day, they actually did tricks a lot of times. So in this case, some of the young men in the community thought it would be really funny to play a trick on Uncle Renz, as he was known to everybody. And I don't have the exact date, but this probably would have been around 1910, 1920, somewhere in that range. So they sneaked into his yard and they got his wagon. And they were just very quiet and they decided they were going to just push it out into the road. They intended to push it quite a ways down the road so that when Grandpa woke up the next morning, he would not be able to find it. Unbeknownst to them, Grandpa, having heard them out in the yard, had come out and, seeing what they were up to, quietly joined in to help them push it. They were laughing and congratulating themselves on fooling Uncle Renz. And after they'd gone quite a ways down the road, Grandpa said, "Well, boys, I believe we've gone far enough. Let's push her back to the yard now." I love this story about my great-grandfather. And I remember hearing my grandfather tell this story at family reunions, but years after my grandfather had passed away and we no longer had, him telling that story, my sweet mother took it upon herself to document this fun story about our great-grandfather, my great-grandfather, so that we could remember, his sense of humor and how fun he was. So I want you to think about that for a minute. Like, how can you preserve stories like this for your kids and for future generations? So as we think about that, I want to encourage you to think small in this case. Family history doesn't have to be a big book about all of the family. You can really just start with what you know. Start with yourself, start with your spouse or your children, and then you can kind of radiate out from there. And also simplify. You don't have to include all of the details about the family or all, every member of the family in the one book. So try to focus on just documenting one story or one activity or vacation, or even just one ancestor or one descendant at a time. The next tip that we have on that is to just make time regularly. So make an appointment with yourself and keep it. So I had a college roommate who pretty much every Sunday afternoon, that was her time to kind of journal and document the week's happenings. You could try the first or last day of each month and just kind of document the highlights of that particular month. And my mother used to sit down every January 1st. It was really quiet after all the kids had stayed up really late the night before, and she would document and write down what had happened the year before. And usually it was just kind of the major highlights, she'd go through the year and what happened. But then she was documenting kind of that history of each year. So add an appointment to your calendar or a digital calendar. You can set a reminder so that you can do this regularly, and it makes it easier. It doesn't feel so overwhelming. And then the last idea on this particular slide is to really use the opportunities that you have to connect the generations. Look at calling regularly, or even through text messages. I have a group message with my siblings, and one of my sisters, she is one of the keepers of our family photos, the digital photos, and she'll upload those or send a photo to us as a siblings and then say, "Who remembers this trip?" So we have a chance to kind of remember and learn from each other. And so we can tell these stories often and remember what happened there. So really, we just want to encourage you to do what you're already doing, but take it one step further and find ways to preserve it. We are going to be sharing a lot of ideas in this session, and just remember that all of those are linked onto the syllabus. So don't feel overwhelmed as we start on this journey together.
All right, so our first idea is create a system for preservation. Now, the word system can sound a little scary, but don't let that fool you. It's just a consistent way that works for you, and it might look different for everyone. You and your family history deserve to be remembered. Everyone's story deserves to be remembered. Choose to be part of consistently creating and preserving lasting memories for your family now and future generations to come. Build habits of remembering and sharing your family's history so you and others will not forget these important stories, memories, and events that are sure to fade with time. Do you have a filing system already? Maybe it's a filing system where you have piles of papers on your desk. A lot of us have that. That's okay. But eventually we might get to those piles of files and put them in folders. But what about digital files? Anyone have digital files all over your computer desktop screen because they're easier to find? Just like physical files, digital files need a home. You might be saying, but Amanda, that sounds great and all, but it's too overwhelming and I just don't know where to start. You need to decide a few things for yourself, but there are some really smart people out there who are willing to share and have come up with simple and manageable ideas to help us get organized. Sound too good to be true? It's not. Enter the Preservation Station plan from the Family Connections Experiment website. And this is one of many websites and blogs and resources online that help break it down and make it easy and manageable. This is a helpful collaboration between some preservation-minded people, some inspired and common sense ideas, and voila, something you can do a little bit each day to get organized. Decide what works for you and then get started preserving your family's history. There are other blogs and websites, like I mentioned, that are available besides this one. This is one that I just happen to like. The next slide shows an example from day one. I love the first point, focusing on one family or one family member at a time. What? You mean I don't have to organize all of my family history records and resources at the same time? You're giving me permission to do one person or one family group? What a great idea. See? Simple and doable. Remember the KISS method. Keep it simple, sweetie. We're much more likely to follow through and keep it up and consistent when it's simple and easy. Idea number 2, photo preservation. Who has a box, maybe even like this? You can see that, probably not seeing that very well, but it's a box, maybe it's a cardboard box, maybe it's a photo box. And maybe you have many boxes like this and they're filled with photos from all different years, maybe even multiple families. And you think someday I'll have time to organize them, maybe put them in a scrapbook or a photo album. But sadly, that day just doesn't seem to come because there's always something else to do and things that are demanding our time. So the photos stay in the box, gather dust until one day someone might accidentally toss the box because they thought it was trash.
Thanks.
And we don't want that to happen. But it doesn't have to be that way. Keeping things simple enables us to focus on one task or activity at a time. For example, rather than thinking I need to have all the family photos from birth to death digitized and neatly organized in an album 3 months from now, I can give myself some grace and do it in an easier way. One activity might be this, just putting family photos in frames. Anyone else have this problem where you have a photo, but guess what? That's not really my family photo, right? People come over and wonder who those people in the frames are. You chuckle, slightly embarrassed, and say, oh, those people, they're probably distant cousins, when in reality, they are the pictures that came with the photos from the store. I've just been so busy. I haven't had time to put in family photos. And I'm speaking from experience, so I get this. So grab some of your family members, print out some photos, and put them in frames. But what about photo books? Who doesn't love to look at those? Do they need to include every event in a person's life? I'm not sure why we think they have to. A lot of us think that way. We have to include their entire life. But maybe let's think about this a little differently. Try creating mini albums, maybe by event or topic. What about a collective Christmas family book like this? This was something that my mom made for the families, the kids in our family, and she gave them last year, and it was a beautiful experience for these families to receive their Christmas photos from all different Christmases. And so trying to keep this simple, maybe all together, like you could do one for birthdays, they require a lot less frustration than trying to figure out and date every single photo. And yet you still get to enjoy the memories of that event. And for those of us that have literally thousands of photos on our phones, yeah, I'm guilty there too. You can simply and easily turn them into photo books organized by topic, person, etc., with various apps or services that are available, many free and affordable. The point is to preserve them and share them. Get your adult children or even younger kids involved in sorting these photos as a family activity. My mom did that with my sister and I, and it was fun. We went down memory lane together and got to see some really fun photos that we hadn't seen in a very long time, and some we had never seen. So as you get together and do this, they'll love seeing photos, especially ones they're in. Plus, it gives you that opportunity to share stories and memories together.
That's really great, Amanda. And as we're talking about, preserving physical photos, and Amanda's mentioned, digital photos on your album. There's a lot of different things that you can do with these digital photos as well. Just before I get into this, I do want to remind you all that this is being recorded and it is accessible in the Roots Tech library after Roots Tech is finished. And also that the syllabus is linked below the presentation, and everything that we're talking about and the links for those are in the syllabus. So one of the first things that we want to mention here is that you can upload these photos to Family Search. You can upload them for yourself and for your family members. Just be sure that as you are uploading them with family members in there, that you have received their permission if they're living. We need to make sure that they've agreed to have them uploaded into that repository. And then also Family Search has developed a new experience called Family Group Trees. They talked about it just briefly this morning in the tech forum, if you were in that session. And if not, you can go look it up. It'll be available to watch later as well. So Family Group Trees allows you to share photos and memories with living relatives that are in that same shared family tree experience. And so it's a really great way to share those memories and those photos within one experience. And then also, you can use online photo repositories. So things like Dropbox or Google Photos, Amazon Photos, Apple iCloud, etc. And many of these offer the opportunity to share photos with family members. And you can download those images as well and be able to create memory books or photo books that have you and your family in it and share those albums. And then there's this idea of creating a shared digital album. So I know that within my family, we create a group album, and then we can all drop photos into it from our smartphones. So that helps keep everything kind of together in one repository. And then you can also use, like I did with my smartphone, and you saw the video running on the waterfalls. I don't know if I can replay it here, get it going again. Just every photo that I had taken about waterfalls. My husband and I love to hike, and I take a lot of photos of our hikes and the waterfalls that we've been to. And so my smartphone created this. It offered this as an option. I was able to edit the title if I wanted to, add the music that I wanted behind it, and then it's a very short video, but it's something that is a fun memory. It kind of we've been to all these different places and seen, all these different things. And so just kind of a fun opportunity to be able to share these memories. As I upload this into Family Search, I'm able then to, create a little tag or, develop a little bit of information about, what was going on in this and where were we? What were some of the memories that I had? Why do I love waterfalls? So those are some things that you can do with some of these digital albums. Okay, idea number 3. You can use social media as a preservation tool. I don't know how many of you have considered doing that or are already doing that, but it's a really easy way. A lot of us use social media, and we can very easily go into something like Facebook, and we can specify that we want this to be only me. And then I just want to highlight here with the filters that you can go back and you can identify your filters. You can see the things that you've posted to only me or posted by you, etc. So when you go into your Facebook account, you can set that privacy to be only me, as I was mentioning. So you don't have to share it with the world if you don't want to. It can really just be yourself. And that way you can share all the information, like document the good and the bad, the funny and the sentimental. You can even identify a certain group of friends or family members that you want to share this with and be able to have that group as the group that you share your post with. And then also on social media, obviously, you know, a lot of us probably use it to upload photos and have photos going. So organize those photos into common folders or into these, you know, story highlights. And then you can also, you know, share them in that way. So I don't know how many of you have heard of this popular app, 1SE, also called 1 Second Every Day. It allows you to choose a photo or a video clip to represent each day of the month. And I think this is a really great way that you can kind of compile a very brief, in 30 seconds, basically, 30 to 35 seconds or so, you are creating highlights of all the things that may have happened that month. You can add a little tag, you know, location or who was in that picture, you know, what was going on, maybe just, you know, kind of a brief little clip there, and then save it and share it on social media. You can also upload it to your Family Search memories, and you could send it to your family members to be able to share with them.
This is a great idea, Jana. So many of us are already on social media and actually preserving without even realizing it. These are super. Thanks.
Okay, so idea number 4 is to create photo books. So some of you probably have already done this before. So let's talk first about, since we've just been talking about like online, let's talk about taking the online to offline. There are a couple of different options. There's a company called My Social Book, and you can connect your Facebook, your Instagram, or Google Photos to it. And then you can be able to pull those photos down into a book, and you can create a beautiful keepsake book. They have options anywhere from 20 to 450 pages. So you could create a really lovely book like that. You can add text or captions to it as well. So you can let people know, like, this is what's going on in this picture. We're probably more familiar with another company called Chatbooks. And again, this is a way that you can connect your social media account or other photo repository to be able to create booklets that have wonderful memories in them. And these are really fun for your family members to look at, to be able to remember the experiences that they might have experienced. So there was one suggestion from a blogger that said, you know, sometimes you don't want to use your social media account to upload everything that's in that social media account into Chatbooks or into your booklet. And it can be sometimes a little bit more challenging to filter and say, I only want these photos and not these, or, you know, these kind of things. And so her suggestion was to have 2 accounts. Have one for your normal posts, and then have one where you just specifically upload the photos you want to be able to pull out for your Chatbooks. And then another idea that I got from a cousin was that you could create a collage. So use a photo app on your phone, and as you have, you know, photos of the same kind of thing or the same activity event, pull those into a collage and then save that picture and upload that to your social media so that you can pull that for your or to your Chatbooks directly, either way. But that way you can enjoy multiple photos on one page more easily. There's also a fun new photo collage creator available on Family Search. And so you can pull pictures actually from your Family Search memories as well and be able to upload those or others from your computer into the new photo collage creator. Amanda, I think we have that in I'm not sure if we have that in our syllabus, but we can make sure that it's in the chat if it's not in the syllabus. So we'll double check that.
It is, Jana. It's in the
Okay.
syllabus, and we can also post it in the chat as well.
Perfect. All right.
It's a fun new way to try out and use Family Search memories as well as your own photos.
Yes. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, and then the other thing, of course, is that you can also create your own memory books that are not tied to any social media account. They don't have to be elaborate or tell all the details. Sometimes a picture really does tell 1,000 words. So I've got a couple of, you know, this is like a soft bound book and, you know, a hardbound book. So there's different options that you can select or choose when you're looking to create a photo book. They're different sizes, you know, so that's also really helpful depending on what it is you want to look at. And there are a lot of places that will create beautiful bound books. We've put some of those into the syllabus as well. And those are not the only options, but there's some potential options that you could look at. They do allow you some flexibility in the layout. And some of them have more flexibility than others. And so you just want to, kind of explore and find what's going to work for you.
Idea number 5, online storytelling and also audio preservation. We've shared a lot about photo preservation, but what about audio preservation? Here's a quick story to illustrate. My maternal grandfather passed away before I was born. Sadly, I never got to meet him, but through my mom sharing family stories about him and her family, I really came to know who he was and how much he and I were alike and what we shared in common. Now, fast forward 10 years ago at Christmas time, my mom's sister, my aunt, digitized a bunch of family photos and shared them with all the family members on a DVD. It was a beautiful gift. And she also, in the process, came across an audio recording of my grandmother and grandfather. Remember the grandfather that I had never met at a restaurant. It was kind of like a dinner party, and they were talking about their lives and family with another couple. And for some reason, this conversation was recorded, and quite unusual that it was recorded, but it really became a gift because I had never heard my grandfather's voice before. And to hear that was really powerful and really special. And it brought me a lot of peace as I continued to learn more about him.
That's amazing, Amanda. I love that they just decided to record that conversation. So you'd have that audio of your grandfather's voice. That's amazing.
And that was a long time ago. So with today's technology, there's all kinds of things that can be recorded.
So true.
There are many resources available to record stories and preserve audio, including family search memories. Who wouldn't want to hear the story behind this sweet girl singing? Another company that's made it simple to share your stories is called Storyworth. Some of my family members have used this company where Storyworth will send you one question per week. And if you don't like the question, you can change it into what you want, and then you answer it. You can add a photo and then create a book at the end of the year and share that with others. You can also use photos to trigger memories and record the story or event that the photo is about. I had my mom do this with some of these photos that I mentioned my aunt had shared with us. I had never seen several of these photos, and so she was the one that had the memories attached to them. And so while I was at work one day, I had her go through some of those photos and then just using my laptop computer record in her own voice the memory that was associated with that photo. It was a very simple activity, but it really brought a lot of joy to all of us. I got to learn new stories, and my mom had fun reminiscing, and it only required a few computer clicks, and she was able to do that without a problem. And we were able to get this information recorded before family members get older and memories fade. Another idea, one of your local family search centers, which is open to the public, could also have some equipment that could be helpful for this. And you're able to use it free of charge. And often there are volunteers there that can help you in using that equipment. So that is something that you would want to check out. You can check for your local family search center on familysearch.org.
Yeah, Amanda, it's so interesting that you mentioned this because I recently had a neighbor, she posted in like our neighborhood Facebook group and basically said, I have these, old videos that I want to digitize. Does anybody know a place where I can go? And she was thinking, like a company that could do it for her or that, where she could take it or send it. And a couple of us, I was one, and another person also suggested our local family search center. And she came back just a few hours later or the next day, I can't remember now, onto the chat and basically said, that was so easy. She said it was so easy. I just had to go reserve a time and I went in there. They helped me with the equipment, and within just a few hours, she had digitized it herself. So really easy process. Now, not every family search center may have all of those equipments. So you'll just have to explore your local family search center and see what they might offer. Or you can always come here to Salt Lake and use Memory Lane and some of the equipment that's available here.
Good ideas.
Okay, so idea number 6, a family recipe book. And again, as a reminder, our presentation is being recorded and it will be accessible. So one unique way to preserve your heritage is to collect and compile different recipes that your family remembers eating while growing up. Now, I don't know about you, but my family takes a lot of photos of us around food or eating. So it's really kind of a fun thing. You can gather all of those photos and add them to your cookbook. Add the recipes, add the photos, and then it becomes this wonderful preservation for your family of, here's what we love to eat. And you can also include snippets or stories of a family member who might remember eating that meal or why they love that recipe, why it's one of their favorites. Or you might scan like a handwritten recipe from your parents or grandparents and add that so that you can include that in the cookbook to preserve the handwriting.
Jana, this is awesome. And I'd love a copy of that just to even get some of the recipe ideas. But many of our traditions are associated with food. It's a meaningful experience to make your grandma's homemade hot cocoa, as you see the recipe in her handwriting with the photo of her in the book. Um, Another tip here, and maybe you haven't heard, but this year at Roots Tech 2024, there is a global cookbook where people from all around the world have been submitting recipes for the last number of months, and it's available in digital format. We'll put the link in the chat. So those of you that have registered online, you're welcome to go and see that and download that. And it's quite a cookbook. So so much fun around food and traditions.
Definitely. Okay, well, idea number 7, short stories. So remember how I told you that story at the beginning of my mother and how she wrote that story? Well, this is the book that she compiled, and initially there were only, a few stories in it, and as each year as she's gone along, she's added additional stories. So this idea, we don't want it to be burdensome for you, but really it's just, writing some short stories about your family. Um, excuse me. So, again, that short story can be enough. It doesn't have to be super in depth. It doesn't have to, share all the details. And so don't try to write the entire family history on this. Just focus on one memory or, a short story or short experience that you might have had with a family member. My mother wrote a short story about an experience she had with her granddaughter and how, the change of perspective. The yard was full of dandelions because it hadn't been landscaped yet. It was kind of a brand new home. And the granddaughter woke up that morning and looked out and was like, Grandma, millions of flowers. So just that different, so she wrote that little story down as a reminder of how to have a good perspective. And so maybe, sometimes there are things that you are learning from your ancestors. Like I mentioned with my great grandfather and his sense of humor, like, you can create these stories that kind of tell a moral of the story, so to speak, or a lesson learned. And that can help your kids or your family members learn more about their family and be able to learn that valuable lesson. So one of the ideas that I wanted to share about this was, again, try not to be overwhelmed by it. You don't have to do all the stories all at once, but maybe think I could write one story a month. And then by December, you'd have 12 stories that you could gift to your family members. And you could either, put them in a binder. It doesn't have to be fancy, or you could just save them on a flash drive for a digital experience, or upload them to a shared digital repository, something like, Google Docs or something like that. And that way they can be shared with the other family members together. We've included on the syllabus some links for some writing prompts that will hopefully help you get started, help you start thinking about the different ideas and the different things that you could potentially write about. Okay, great. On to the next.
All right. Idea number 8. Anyone here keep a journal or maybe try to keep a journal? That's me. Anyone start a journal for a week but then don't return for a couple of years and come back and go, where has the time gone? That's me too. Well, rather than trying the same thing over and over again, expecting to get the same results, this time I'm going to do it. Try thinking in a little different way. So instead of a daily journal, maybe have a 5-minute journal and you do it every few days or once a week. Maybe you have one sentence a day journal. That doesn't feel too overwhelming, hopefully. Just documenting maybe special events or vacations or special memories. That could even be a journal by itself. What about a gratitude journal? I think most of us have probably heard of those. I do have one of those, and it has really helped me through some really difficult times. Even on the hardest of days, I found there's always something to be thankful for. And that's something that I can pass down to my posterity. What about a photo or an art or an audio journal focusing on specific topics again? You could use your smartphone to take pictures of meaningful art that you see each week or record your thoughts using some of the apps that are available on the phones. Rather than writing daily, which can be overwhelming and often hard to keep up on in our busy lives, consider weekly or monthly journal entries. You might be more consistent when it's not every day. And I know that kind of sounds counterintuitive, but it's a little less for us to do. And so we're able to feel like we can accomplish that. Do you find that sometimes when you maybe start to write, you have writer's block? That's very common. You can look at the syllabus for links to many kinds of journal prompts, or go the digital route and keep an online journal, or use social media like Jana has shared before. Remember, your story is worth sharing.
Absolutely. And I'm one of those that I used to be very faithful keeping a journal, and I've kind of slacked off in the last few years. So definitely these ideas would be very helpful, just trying to do kind of small snippets, small chunks. Thanks, Amanda. Okay, idea number 9, sensory stories. So when I was teaching, I did this activity. I used to study and teach about adult development and aging. And in doing that, I learned a lot about memory and how we can recall memory. And something that is very interesting is that there is a connection between our nose and our brain. It can't be replicated by any other sense, but this idea of scent can bring back long stored memories, long-term memories that are sometimes really difficult for us to access as adults, mostly because they happened so long ago for a lot of us that we can't remember them easily. But as soon as we smell whatever that odor is, maybe it's fresh cut grass, or maybe it's the cinnamon, it reminds us of an experience that we might have had as a child. And these memories tend to be transportative. They tend to bring you back to that time and place in your memory. And they do that more so compared to other types of sensory experiences, like seeing a picture or hearing a story about it. So it's easier to recall because that nose, that scent, sends a signal straight to our brain that suddenly brings it back. So the idea behind this activity, you're going to collect several scents together and have them sitting next to you. So some ideas, as I mentioned, maybe cinnamon. If you grew up around a grandmother or a family member who did a lot of canning, maybe pickling spice would be a good one. You could use some wintergreen essential oil or vanilla extract. Even flowers or perfume or old books could be options. So gather, 3 or 5 of these different items and set them in front of you. And then you also want to have a piece of paper and a pen nearby, or use your phone or a digital audio recorder or something like that. But what you want to do is pick up the item, close your eyes, and then I want you to smell it. And as you smell it, I want you to think about the very first the very first memory that comes to mind. What does that scent call to mind? Open your eyes and jot it down, or with your eyes closed, record. What are you thinking about? What are you remembering? Where are you? Who was there? So kind of record and document some of those key pieces of information. Keep smelling it to recall some other, experiences. They might be different memories, or they might be further development of the same memory. So jot those down. And then later you can come back and, explore that a little bit more and develop the story or the information further. So then you'll set down that scent and you'll go on to the next one. Pick up the next scent, smell it with your eyes closed, and really try to block out all other senses besides your sense of smell in order to try to really grasp what is the first memory that comes to mind when I smell this odor. And then document that information. And again, you might only capture a few words at first or a few lines, and that's enough to begin. And then you can spend as much time as you want later to explore, what did this remind me of? And then later, you can upload that information, that story or that information that you've written, uploaded that to your family search account and under your memories. Or you can share those stories with other family members.
Jana, this is amazing. I don't think too many of us have heard of these kinds of stories and ways of preserving memories like this. But I think a lot of us have smelled things that have brought us back to our childhoods or to an earlier time in our life. I know for me, roses will often do that. Takes me back to our family rose garden that we had in our backyard many years ago.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
memories.
Scent is powerful. Okay, the last idea that we want to share with you, idea number 10 is a family photo calendar. Now, again, remember, we're trying to help you realize that you probably are already doing a lot of these types of things. So the ideas may not be brand new, and hopefully we've given you some new ideas or some things that you can try that might be different from what you have already done that will help you to motivate you to help preserve your history. So this idea of a family photo calendar, this is one that has been it's a really fun activity. What you want to do is you want to gather the photos that maybe took place from the year prior so that you can populate them into the current year's calendar. And then you want to add birthdays, anniversaries, other special dates if possible before printing the calendar. You can see here on this family calendar that on the birth dates, we've included a little picture, or if it's an anniversary, the anniversary of those individuals. And so, we can remember as we flip the calendar to the next month that, oh, there's that, oh, it's so-and-so's birthday this month, and we can really get excited about celebrating with them. And then, as you are using that physical calendar, post it where you could get to it easily, document your year, write down your commitments, your activities, your gatherings right onto the calendar. And then at the end of the year, you have your whole year documented and you have this wonderful, photo memory to walk down. And yeah, it's the year before, but still you've got these photos and these experiences and a reminder of what might have happened in that month for that year that you can then go and further, develop into a preservation or document it further if you need.
This is so fun, Jana. Really, this becomes like a photo journal of the year. And what a great way to include other family members or even
Yep.
children, grandchildren, nieces and nephews, asking them for photos and getting them involved in helping to create. Our young people are so technologically advanced in many ways. I think they'd have fun helping to put this together for the family.
True, absolutely.
I'm so excited. Looking at our time, we have time for one more idea, kind of a bonus. Stories in a jar. And I have my story in a jar right here again. Sorry, you probably can barely see that. It's just
You
a
can
little
see it.
mason
Yeah.
jar. It's got some markers and a pen and some photo, or excuse me, some index cards. So this is different than a journal, but it can include family experiences and stories as they happen. How many times do we think, oh, I wish I would have written that down because I forgot, all the details that I wanted to remember. But by keeping like a mason jar or a container, or even a box handy in maybe the family room or the kitchen where your family gathers, keep a stack of index cards and a pen or pencil and some markers nearby, and then take a few minutes and write down a few details about the event that happened or what your child might have said. How often, do we want to remember some of those things that they say and we forget to write it down and we think, oh, I'll remember later. And we don't, because it's easy to forget with so much going on in our lives. So you can write down the date, the place, the time, maybe what made the event or the memory special, and just a few bullet points or a few sentences. You don't have to sit and write a lengthy journal article because, a index card is only so big. So just a few thoughts on there and to kind of help jog your memory the next time you look at it. You could have a set time that you do this, maybe once a week, maybe on a Sunday afternoon when things are a little bit more quiet and you kind of reflect on the week. Maybe put it in your calendar. So if there's a home if there is a place, a home for an activity on your calendar, then oftentimes we're more likely to do it. So once you've jotted down whatever the thought was or the memory or the story, put it on the card, put it in the jar, and then at the end of the year, you and your family can review the cards. This is something the entire family can also help with. So it doesn't have to be just what you see or what you remember that week, but it could be what your family members remember, what was important to them. So you're able to hear about other points of view about some of the same stories and events. You could even include the stories that you've collected on these index cards in a book. You could laminate them. You could type them up. You can always make it more if you want to do it a little more formal, or keep it informal and just maybe put it on a little metal ring and just keep those handy and be able to share those memories throughout the years. You might group some of the stories together by topic or holiday or family member that they include. The important thing here is documenting the experience to preserve it and then share with your family.
Yeah, I love this idea, Amanda, especially getting the kids involved, right? Like if you have a little marker or a pencil or something, crayons even, and you can hand your kid one of the cards and say, what was special about today, and have them draw a little picture. And then that can go in the jar. You can write down who it was, their age, and then, so that's something that you can also include, as you said, include all the family members and get these different perspectives. So what a fun idea.
Exactly. And if you want some more ideas on how to include the youth in your life and family history and connecting them to their ancestors, Jana and I have another class on Saturday at 3 o'clock that will also be recorded and available on rootstech.org. So that might be of interest to you as well. Okay, well, we have enjoyed our time with you today, and we hope that it's been helpful. And we will have some time for questions, but we just want to remind you that if you're able to access the app, or if you have the app, you can share feedback. Just look up the Preservation Generation, if not you, then who class, and it will help us know what you liked and things that we can improve on. And you're welcome to share that feedback there. You can also share feedback in the chat as well. So every online session has a chat on the same page that many of you, I think, are adding thoughts in there, which is great. We want you to share your ideas and what's worked for you and what questions you might have, so you can share information there as well. And Jana and I will be in there shortly. We've had so much fun spending some time with you and sharing ideas to remember and preserve your family stories, events, and experiences. It doesn't have to be hard or take a lot of time. Remember the KISS method. Keep it simple, sweetie. Just choose one or two ideas to try. See how it goes. Maybe you need to adapt a little bit or tweak for your family situation. And then if it goes well, keep doing it. Maybe add another new idea in a little while, then see how that goes and just keep building and trying new things and see what works for you and what doesn't. And as a reminder, as Jana has shared, this is a recorded session, so it will be available on rootstech.org on demand. And if you have additional questions or ideas, go ahead and share those in the chat. Also, there is an online syllabus that has many of these online resources and links. You can download the PDF version of the syllabus just below the video that you're seeing this class on. And with that, we'll go ahead and turn the time over to Nate, our moderator, who will share any questions that you might have had.
Yeah, so a lot of chat a lot of discussion going on in the chat. But yeah, first off, thank you so much. These were a lot of great ideas and examples. This is great. In the chat, there was also a lot of other fun ideas that people had that they shared.
Thank you.
And
That's wonderful.
yeah, so the first question was photos on CDs. How long will they last? And what will be the next and newest technology for preserving our old family photos digitally? You
Well,
kind of touched on that, but
yeah, no, I think that's great. Yeah, CDs, how long will they last? Well, the technology is rapidly changing. In fact, most computers don't even have a CD drive. If you were to buy a new one now, you can't get one with a CD drive anymore. So, there's a
great
couple of
point.
different options. Oh,
Sorry, no, that was a great
good.
point. I said,
Yeah, so there's a couple of different options. You can find an online repository and try to upload. You might need to purchase or maybe borrow if you don't have a computer with a CD drive, to buy an external drive that will read the CD. And then you need to get them to your computer and uploaded. So I would choose, maybe a couple of different repositories where you could save those. You don't have to choose just one, but have a couple of different ones and upload them to Family Search. They're going to be there later on too. So those are some ideas for preserving what's on the CD into. I would put them more digitally, transfer them to a flash drive or something like that. Just make sure that flash drive is labeled so you know what it is.
nice. Yeah. Okay, next question. So say photos degrading rapidly and the restoration companies are so expensive. Do I just scan and give up on the originals? Guess and like toss them after they scan them, or what are your thoughts on that?
Amanda, I'll let you take that one.
I know for myself, I can't throw out any old photos, even if they're falling apart. You can put them, in something where they're not being handled. So you still have that original. And there may also be writing on the back of that original. But I would definitely recommend scanning them. There are some different services. I think MyHeritage has one that can help kind of improve or enhance online digital photos. Others like to keep that kind of sepia toned if it's an older photo look, and that's part of the beauty of the older photos. I think there is a beauty to that. So the key is just try to digitize what you can as soon as you can before they get too degraded. Any
You
other
might also,
thoughts, Donna?
I was gonna say, you might also check your local Family Search Center. Many of them do have an option or a scanner, something that you can use to scan those photos. So look into that as an option, or check with your neighbors and friends and see if somebody has a scanner that you could use to digitize those photos initially. Yeah.
And those resources at the Family Search Centers are free of charge. And you just basically sign up for a time to come in, and then you bring your photos or whatever it is that you're digitizing and preserving during that time.
Awesome, thank you. And then one more question. Not sure exactly where what the context was behind it, but they said, what was the format for your mother's book that allowed her to add more stories as time went on?
Great. That's a great question. It really is. I don't know if you can tell. This particular book it's like a binder. So there's, it's a closed binder. So it's like a scrapbook kind of binder. But even just a normal binder with 3 rings and use some sheet protectors. So yeah, every year I don't know, my mom's probably on, but she probably can't respond. So Mom, how many years have you been doing this? It's probably been 8 or 10 years that she's been writing and sharing stories every Christmas, and we all look forward to getting more stories. So I actually had to expand. This is only one book. I have 2 binders now of family stories, and some of them are more than 1 page, which is okay, Of course, I love having that extra information, but yeah, it's just a basic binder, so you don't have to get fancy with it, and sheet protectors, and then just add the next year, add more.
Nice. A couple more. Let's see. Someone says, how do you store and track your thumb drives? They're so easy to lose.
So true. I probably have like a few dozen over here that don't have. So it's a great question. I have a little um case, I guess that's what it would be called. So there's a little case. I just found it online, probably like Amazon or Walmart.com or something like that. Anyway, it has these little pockets for my flash drives. And that's been a great way for me to keep them all together in one spot. And I would also recommend not keeping everything on just one flash drive. You want to have multiples. In our household, we also have not just a flash drive, but one of these like external hard drives. They hold a lot more information. And so we have a flash drive. I would definitely add like a label to it. I don't know if I have some here that are not labeled. So I don't know if you can see, but here there's nothing that tells me what is on this. So I need to get a label on this, but I would do that. That's what I would try to do is figure out what's on this flash drive, and then make sure that you have a label telling you what it is, or it's attached to a lanyard with another tag or something that can tell you what that is. And then just make sure that you have multiple copies, put it on an external hard drive as well as a flash drive. Amanda, did you have anything else?
Yeah, I was just going to add, and then determine what kind of streaming service you might use, because the external hard drive, the thumb drives are great for, they kind of have different purposes, but they can also degrade. They can, if they get, water somehow in them, there go the
They
photos. So
can
you
get
just want,
lost.
yeah, they can get lost because they're so little, right? So you just want to have multiple places where these photos are, because they are your cherished memories. And heaven forbid something happens, a fire, a flood, and we see that, on the news often. So if you have your photos in an online location, then you can always print new ones. But if something happens to the originals, or something happens to that thumb drive or that external hard drive, then good luck retrieving them, or unless a family member has them. So yeah, just having it in multiple places. The labeling is what I do as well. Maybe have a thumb drive or an external hard drive for, a number of families, and just label that on the drive itself. But just know that that's more of a temporary storage space, and you also want to think of something more long term.
Yeah. Great. Thank you. We have maybe time for just one more question, which I can only really find one more so far, but is there a quota to the total size of media that can be uploaded to Family Search? I don't think so, but
Yeah, I would say that's a great question. I'm not sure I know that answer. I'd have to go out of my presentation and research a little bit. So, Amanda, do you know off the top of your head?
I believe that there is, and I'm not going to say what I think it is because I don't want to say the wrong thing. But we'll share it in the chat later. We'll
Yeah,
find
we'll
out
find
for
out.
sure. And there's different types of media too that you're able to upload to Family Search, whereas some file formats you can't. So that's a great question to know, so that you have the right format to upload it. So, and then there are some ways that you can also, for example, let's say I have a video recording maybe of a nephew's graduation, and I want that, or someone who's passed away, and I want to link that. Then I can store that in an online location and use a URL, a website address, to link that or connect that into the memories. So then it's not being stored on the Family Search servers, but it's being linked to an online location. So that's an idea as well. Okay.
Awesome. Okay, well, we are almost perfect on time. Thank you again so much. Great presentation.
Thanks so much, everybody. We'll see you in the chat.
Thank you.
And have a great rest of your time at Roots Tech. Bye, everyone.